2022 Volvo XC40 T5 all-wheel drive Inscription with the Polestar tuning. Just how good is this entry-level Volvo crossover? Today we're going to find out. Starting with the looks of this XC40, I mean, when this vehicle came out, it didn't look like anything else in the market, and I still don't think it does. I think it's a gorgeous looking vehicle, and Volvo in general has very good looking vehicles. As I'm behind a caution slow moving vehicle in front of me. The designers of the XC40 did something quite incredible. They gave it unique dimensions to make it look a lot bigger, but it's still a small compact crossover. No surprise with any other Volvo, you have the Thor's hammer daytime running lights, and in the back of the vehicle you have, the vertical running rear tail lights that we've seen in years past on many Volvo models. Now in a compact crossover, typically you see 18 to 20 inch wheels at the most. No, this XC40 has optional 21 inch wheels on it with a ridiculous name to match with the ridiculous size of the wheels. 5 triple open spoke black diamond cut alloy wheels. There you have it. What do I think of them? Well, you would think they would look out of a place in a small compact crossover. In fact, they don't. But Volvo's wheel designs look good even at 18 and 19 inch sizes. So don't feel like you have to get the 21 inch wheels, especially when they cost over $3,300 for this option. Finally, we have some clear road in front of us. I'm forgetting that it's now considered season down here in South Florida, where tourists and snowbirds flock in by the thousands every single day. It's crazy. And when you get on the interior, the windows don't seem so small, but you sit up really, really high. You feel like you have a really good command of the road, despite this being a smaller vehicle. And you're greeted with some nice, caramel leather seats in here with some nice stitching that we also have on the armrest. We have some really high-class wood ornamentation in the dash and on the doors, at least the front doors, not on the back doors. We have 2 huge digital displays in here. This one going to be for obviously your infotainment, your phone connectivity, your radio, things like that, which, by the way, the Harman Kardon optional radio in here is actually pretty good. It's not the loudest, but it's really high fidelity even when you're cranking it at the highest decibels that it'll let you. And your digital MID behind the steering wheel is crystal clear. It's very minimal, just like a Volvo should be. It gets you all the information you need to know. Now, in front of that is the steering wheel, which is excellent. And you have some basic buttons on the steering wheel. On the left is going to be your cruise control, which is probably the easiest cruise control I've ever used in any car. You just press that button and it takes control. For example, I'll just do it right now. We're set at 33 miles per hour. Speed limit's 35, so I just press up on the steering wheel and it gets us to 35 miles per hour. And I tested this in stop and go Orlando traffic. I took this to Orlando for my buddy's wedding and took my friends around it, and as well going to different hotel to the event and back for rehearsal, stuff like that anyways. But I was able to take this in stop and go traffic with the cruise control, and it will stop the car and speed it up in stop and go traffic. So that was kind of a nice feature. It was a little bit scary with other people's lives at stake in here, but it got the job done, and it was very smooth at doing it. And also, when you're up to speed, you can just press the right button here on the steering wheel, and the Pro Pilot, well, it's Pilot Assist. I like saying Pro Pilot Assist because Nissan has got into my subconscious with that one. Anyways, it does a really good job keeping the lane and driving the car for you, essentially. You also have a gorgeous panoramic sunroof in here, big surprise. But I feel like I need to get into some of the things about the vehicle, or at least the interior of the vehicle, that I don't like before I start talking about the performance and how this car is like to drive. The touchscreen, it's actually really efficient. However, I have Android Auto plugged into here. It takes up about 1/3 of the screen. It's really, really small. I have all these icons here for the inbuilt navigation, the radio, the phone, which I never use the phone thing in here. So I have all these tabs taking up a ton of the screen, and it's just useless. and just a tiny portion makes up for the Android Auto, which is just kind of a bummer. I can't do a dual screen, so if I wanted to have my fuel economy up here, I have to get out of this, swipe to the right, click driver performance, and it'll tell me, which by the way, it says I have 27.3 miles per gallon, and that's over all the 478 miles I've driven so far. Keep in mind, a lot of that is taking the back highways to Orlando and back, kind of getting the best miles per gallon possible. So 27.3 is probably on the higher end of what you're going to see in an all-wheel drive, a turbocharged XC40. The climate control, I actually don't mind that it's, you know, all touch. The problem is I feel like these vents are not very efficient at getting the air in the right places and not very efficient in cooling down this interior. And when I had passengers in the back, I feel like the XC40 didn't do the best job of cooling down everyone. In the back, you have USB-C charging ports as well as heated outboard seats, which is pretty cool. And those heated outboard seats come as a part of the winter package, which gives you a heated steering wheel, which I'm not going to use in Florida. All right, feel like we need to talk about performance. Now, this is the Polestar tuned T5, which gives us a more responsive vehicle. To me, I think it's completely wasted on the XC40. This vehicle, at least how it drives with me, is that unless you floor it, the vehicle doesn't really want to go anywhere particularly fast. But if you do floor it, you'd get a huge surge of torque and a good amount of power, around 250 horsepower and almost 260 pound-feet of torque. And it is more than adequate for a vehicle of this size. But like I said, unless you floor this vehicle, I don't feel like it does. You never get that sort of power or satisfaction out of it. Most of the time, it just kind of wants to hum along and keep up with traffic. And that's okay for me for a vehicle of this class, but it's always there if you want to switch lanes a little bit. I mean, it just takes off like a rocket, and it's just kind of funny because you're sitting up so high in a small vehicle. It's just a unique experience. And now as we come, looks like we have some braking up here. As I'm going to get into the brakes in this vehicle are outstanding. Which reminds me of the XC90. The brakes in that vehicle were also out of this world. I feel like the brakes in this one are also just as good as they were in the XC90, which makes me super happy. You guys know how much I like a strong and predictable brake pedal, and we have that here in the XC40. Steering is eerie in this vehicle. At low speeds, it is super, super light. And as you get up to speed, it maybe tightens just a little bit, but as I'm, merging here on the interstate, it is still super, super light. It almost feels like a video game. So it's not my cup of tea when it comes to the resistance of the steering wheel. I wish it was a little bit tighter, especially in this Polestar tuned version, but it still steers and handles great. It's just a little too light. Now, when we're out to speeds on the highway, this vehicle is really, really, really quiet. And the material of the road I'm on right now is particularly loud, but when I was going to Orlando and back on the back highway roads, it was super, super quiet, and I was just having a wonderful, luxurious experience. And now I'm going 75 on the freeway, and you just hear a little bit of wind noise, maybe around the mirror. And you actually don't hear that much road noise from the tires, which is surprising because you have these massive 21-inch wheels. So Volvo's done a great job insulating this vehicle, especially from the road, but also from the wind. Now, this vehicle, as equipped, is around $48,000, which is a lot for a compact luxury crossover. But I haven't driven a whole lot of vehicles in this vehicle's class. The BMW X1 comes to mind, Mercedes GLA and GLB come to mind, which I don't cover on the channel. The Lexus UX is kind of a direct competitor, but with over 57 cubic feet of cargo space, it's not really a competitor to the Lexus UX in that regard. And a couple more things before I wrap this up. Ride quality. It's actually really, really good despite the huge 21-inch wheels. There were a couple times where I hit like some sewer caps with like maybe a 2-inch, 3-inch dip, between the surface of the road and the sewer cap, and it felt really jarring in this vehicle. Like, I feel like Florida roads are maybe best case scenario for these 21-inch wheels, at least here in America. So I feel like, yeah, I can't really tell you guys how much this is going to drive in other places with these wheels, but I would say get the 18-19-inch wheels if you don't have perfect roads, for sure. And I just don't recommend these 21-inch wheels no matter what. $3,300. Anyways, I can keep talking, but you guys know I mentioned that like 8 times already. And in terms of rear legroom, I had plenty of legroom. So did my passengers when I was driving in Orlando. So that shouldn't be an issue unless maybe you're 6'2", 6'3", or taller. There are so many good things to like about this vehicle, but one of the things that I just find unacceptable for a luxury vehicle is, as I get around this truck, that power. Anyways, I'm gonna get myself into trouble. So anyways, about this vehicle that I don't like is the start stop feature. And you disable it by, go figure, swiping through in the menus, and it's this button right here. I had some serious issues with it because if I came to a stop, the engine would turn off, as it should, but it would kick back on and do so strongly that it would start pulling the car forward while my foot is still on the brake in the same position as it was that stopped the vehicle. So yes, I always have that off, and maybe you could get better than the 27 miles per gallon that I got in this vehicle if you have that. But to me, it's a safety hazard. It's also a complete disruption to the smoothness of this vehicle, the luxuriousness of this vehicle, this start-stop feature. So do yourself a favor and disable that feature through the menus by just swiping left and clicking that. But if I were getting the Volvo XC40, I would save a ton of money and not get these 21-inch wheels, which are $3,300. The Harman Kardon is not necessary either. And since I live in Florida, I don't necessarily need the all-wheel drive and extra power, which, like I said, you hardly ever use the extra power unless you feel like flooring it everywhere. To me, that's the only way this vehicle wants to give you that full power. I don't have driving modes in this particular model. So I would probably be getting a front-wheel drive T4, which has less horsepower, just 187 horsepower and 221 pound-feet of torque, which I feel like is what I have on tap most of the time, and like I said, unless I floor it in this vehicle. And so I feel like you can get a well-equipped and still a great-looking and a really nice interior XC40 for about 10 grand less than this. This is pushing, like I said, nearly 50K. You can get an XC40 for around 40K well equipped, and that's where I feel like is a sweet spot for the XC40. Especially, like, my favorite thing about this vehicle in terms of how it drives is probably the quietness and the brakes, and you're going to be able to get that on like the base models. So anyways, guys, what do you think about the XC40? Do you think Volvo hit it out of the park? I think they did. And the upcoming models, they're going to be mild hybrids and things of that nature. I'd love to be able to test drive the XC40 Recharge with over 400 horsepower of full electric goodness. That vehicle would just, I feel like that vehicle has no business existing, but it does, and I want to drive it really, really badly. But I'm going to sign out from the XC40 as I'm just sitting here melting away in traffic. If you enjoyed it, smash the like button, subscribe for more Volvo news updates and reviews like this. I'll catch you in the next one, and peace out.